And now we're getting into Dune. From this point on, we're getting very close to Dune. That is very interesting. Oh, this is such a great study. This is such a fantastic study. This smells so elegant and rich. Hi friends, welcome back. Today we are making Dune for Men by Dior. Now the last time I made this, it was a type formula from IFF, and it was honestly a disappointment. It was nowhere near close to Dune. It smelled great, but it was missing that light fig note. It was too much patchouli, it was too chocolatey, just too heavy. So today we're whipping up a formula from Labtorium. It's a free study formula based on their GCMS analysis. And just looking at the breakdown, this looks like we have a better shot of getting what we would expect to smell as Dune. Looking at the structure of the formula, it's different than that IFF type formula. The citrus, there's a lot more citrus notes in here, whereas in the IFF formula, it was very heavy in the white florals. And then we have a fair bit of musk, sandalwood, some other woody notes, Vertovix. And I think most importantly, there's a lot of green notes. There's methyl octene carbonate, there's cis-3-hexanol, there's stemone, there's stearyl acetate. I think all those green notes are going to help in creating this Dune type formula. We are going to get started. I'm not going to go through, if we need a recap, this was released in 1997. The perfumers were Olivier Cresp and Jean-Pierre Betoir. And, I used to have this. I wore it in Hawaii a whole bunch. It was absolutely amazing. Familiar with the smell, and I'm hoping this one delivers. What we're going to start with is, per usual, we're going to start with that floral core. We're not going to start with the base. I'm going to smell that at the end. But we are going to start with the floral core. So let's start with our geraniol. Geraniol being very rosy, has a brightness to it. And we are off and running. Okay. Next up, let's do our geranyl acetate. Not much geranyl acetate. It's just geranyl acetate is a little bit sweeter, a little less bright than geraniol. But it certainly has a metallic aspect to it, to my nose. I'm going to save the Helional for a different group. Let's add our petitgrain. Now I'm making a replacement here. I do not have actually petitgrain. I'm gonna save that for the citrus. We'll get into that in a second. Let's do our dihydroianone beta. Only a little bit of this. Maybe half a drop. If you don't have dihydroianone beta, ionone beta works just fine. Beta ionone works just fine. If you don't have beta ionone, use N-methylianone like Iralia, isoraldine. That's fine. Or methylianone gamma. Given the amount that's in this formula, it's not going to matter. Just use an ionone. Okay, let us add our neryl acetate. Neryl acetate is softer to my nose than geranyl acetate. It's very similar. I need just like a half drop more. That'll do. Okay. That will do. Okay. We're going to do 2 more. We're going to do our Alpha Damascone. Now, yes, this is fruity. It is definitely fruity, but I'm going to put it in here with the florals. I made a new dilution, and it is up to the brim of this bottle. Okay. I go through a lot of Alpha Damascone, Beta Damascone, Damascenone, and one more, dimethyl anthranilate. It's a lot like methyl anthranilate, just a little, it's not as loud. And it won't create a shift base with aldehydes like methyl anthranilate will. Okay, here, let's give this a little mix. We don't have much in here. Actually, we have very little in here. I'm thinking I should build this out. But we're going to give it a little dip. I'm only going to be able to get just the edge of this. Florals, 1. All right, leave it to the side. Next up, let's do our aromatic notes. For these, we have a few. Let's start with our basil. Sweet basil. Yeah, love basil. Love it when it gets into spring and summer because basil starts growing in my flower pots. Don't grow them on the ground because slugs will get them. But I put them up on the deck and they grow like a weed, which is great because I love the taste, I love the smell. All right, clary sage. Good old clary sage. It's like a really dirty lavender. Dirty lavender. This stuff is from Russia, and I'm using it up because can't buy it from Russia anymore. Not with sanctions. But I do have some French clary sage, which smells very similar. There are some materials out there that smell very different depending on where they are at, where they're from. Carrot seed, I've recently learned, smells very different. If it's from Hungary, if it's from France, it can smell extremely different. Artemisia, I believe, or maybe, yeah, Artemisia. Mugwort also smells very different depending on where it's from. I haven't experienced that. I just read that in a book. But interesting to know. What am I grabbing? I'm grabbing dihydromercenol. Variation on dihydromercenol is low because it is an aroma chemical. And it is wonderful. Gives a green, fresh pop to your fragrance. Okay. Okay, now we will do our lavandin. Lavandin Grosso. Got this stuff from Liberty Natural. They have Spanish lavandin, French lavandin, Oregon lavandin, and all of it smells great. All of it smells great. Okay. Next up, no pill acetate. It's been a while since I have tested this. Sweet. It is sweet. It's a little woody. It's fresh. You know, it's on the aromatic side, but I can see how this material could be classified in a couple different ways, not just in your aromatic or herbal notes. Okay. It's a nice smell. Last up in our aromatics, rosemary. I think I'm going to need to make some more. Another dilution, I mean. We're getting close to the bottom. Wonderful. Rosemary is also very herbal. It's got a dirtiness to it. It's got a spiciness to it, to my nose. All right. Let's give this a swirl. We'll give it a dip. I'm going to write aromatic. 2. Okay. Next up, let's add our green notes. This is going to include another substitution. This calls for hyacinth body number 3, or resedaphol. Now I don't have that. It's a molecule. IFF makes hyacinth body. Symrise makes resedaphol. It's the same molecule. Don't have it. Pell Wall has it. I don't know if they ship to the US. I'm loading up my cart from that store because they have some molecules I need. And I'm hoping they will ship to the United States. Because this hyacinth body is in a few formulas. It's in Dune. It's in a few patent formulas I have. It's in a wood base. Ooh, and it's in Acqua di Gio Profondo. Okay. Acqua di Gio Profondo. Noted. All right, but we are going to start with cis-3-hexanol. Let me see how much is in here. All right. 0.1% of the concentrate is cis-3-hexanol. Not much. Perfect. Of course, cis-3-hexanol, the standard way to describe it is the smell of fresh cut grass. Again, I take issue with that because when I smell fresh cut grass, I also smell the gas and oil that's on the lawnmower that I use. Fresh cut grass is a little fresher than cis-3-hexanol. Next up, cis-3-hexanyl salicylate. This is wonderful because it's floral. It's also green like cis-3-hexanol, and it works as an amazing blender. That salicylate, part of it, is just an amazing blender. Of the salicylates, benzyl salicylate might be my favorite, but cis-3-hexanyl salicylate is a very close second. Probably just depends what mood I'm in, whether or not benzyl salicylate is first and cis-3-hexanyl salicylate is second. Amyl salicylate is a solid third. Okay. Next up, methyl octene carbonate. There is not much in this. 0.001% of the concentrate is in methyl octene carbonate. This is wonderfully strong. It's a cucumber violet leaf note that is exceptionally strong. This right here is a 0.01%, 0.1% dilution. And I only have a drop and a half in this. But smelling this at 0.1%, you kind of get the feel of how this contributes to something like Dune. When you smell that fig note, that's going to do nicely. Okay, next up, Stemone, the stuff we've been waiting for. Who? Yeah. Yeah, Stemone's great. It's got a real freshness to it. It's leafy, it's green, but it has a freshness to it. Freshness as in almost like mint, like in your nose. It feels crisp. Almost camphoraceous. Thank you, Stemone. Thank you. Next up, Stearyl acetate, another classic green note. Now this is a 1% dilution because there's not much in here. Okay. Great. I am not going very slowly with my pipettes today, but the delivery is pretty spot on. I haven't overdosed any of these yet. Two more, the allyl amyl glycolate or isogalbanate. IFF makes the allyl amyl glycolate. Symrise makes isogalbanate. I haven't actually smelled isogalbanate. I don't know if there's much of a difference. This is very pineapple-y. It's weird to say this, but it's a bit cheesy to me. At least at a 10% concentration. Oh good, I just double checked. I should be using this 10% dilution. I have a 1% dilution that also often gets used because allyl amyl glycolate is used quite often in trace amounts. So I have that 1% dilution. Now the next up, I'm not sure how this is going to work. I'm using ethyl acetate. If you know ethyl acetate, you know this stuff slaps, right? This stuff is, it's forward. It's very forward. Doesn't last that long. Boy, I should dilute this down to 1% as well. The formula called for methyl acetate. I've never seen methyl acetate in a formula before, but I don't know. So what I'm saying is I don't know if it was a typo. Occasionally Labtorium will have a typo with a spelling of a particular, of a ingredient. I don't have methyl acetate. Now, it's a very small molecule, methyl acetate. Ethyl acetate is slightly larger, but it's very similar. And given the strength of ethyl acetate, and I'm guessing the strength of methyl acetate just because of the, again, the size of the molecule and its similarity, this probably isn't a 1-for-1. I'll bet you there's similarities, but it's not a 1-for-1. And it's strong enough where the 0.6% of the concentrate that is ethyl acetate, it might be enough to sway this in one direction or another. In other words, we will see. We will see if that substitution is going to work or not. I'm hoping it will, because I don't have methyl acetate. Okay, let's dip, and we're going to put green. 3. Okay, let's start to, we have a few groups left. We have our citrus notes. I think we should do that next. And then we'll add the base, and then we'll add the final bits. Let's just do our citrus. We're going to start with bergamot. There's a lot of bergamot in here. 21.5% of the concentrate is in bergamot. Smells amazing. Smells amazing. All right. I keep my bergamot in the fridge. So what I'll do is occasionally I'll take out the kilogram that I have. I'll let it warm up to room temperature. And then I'll fill this 15 milliliter bottle that I got from Perfumer's Apprentice. So I'm not constantly taking it in and out of the fridge, or taking the kilogram and just pulling from the kilogram. I can keep it refrigerated, but it comes in handy having a smaller bottle ready to go. Next up, mandarin, yellow mandarin. Mandarin, to my nose, is a nice halfway between sweet orange and lemon. It's bright, but it's also warm like orange is. I get a warmth from orange, a smoothness. Okay, next up, mandarinal. This is a Firmenich product. It is a mixture. It's a reconstitution of mandarin. I'd say it's a bit more aldehydic to my nose, at least right off the bat. For the mandarin I have, green mandarin, yellow mandarin, etc., you get the limonene right off the bat. You get that sharpness, and then as that limonene dies away, then the aldehydes start to come forward. With mandarinal, I smell more of that aldehydic nature just right from the get-go. It's less aggressive on the limonene front. Okay, next up, orange, sweet. Okay. Remember, in a formula, if it calls for orange, they don't mean bitter orange. They mean sweet orange. Now, if they call out for bitter orange specifically, great, use it. Bitter orange smells amazing. It smells very, very nice. But I see why they don't use it a lot from at least a profit perspective. I don't know what the input cost is for Neroli, Petitgrain, Orange Flower Absolute, but if you're going to grow a bitter orange tree, that oil smells amazing. Smells amazing. So why not use those flowers for Neroli rather than letting them grow into oranges and then use the oil, because orange oil is pretty cheap. All right. Now I'm using Petitgrain Surfleurs. This is from Eden Botanicals, and it replaces lemon petitgrain, or petitgrain from lemon. Now remember, friends, petitgrain comes from the bitter orange tree. It's a steam distillation of the leaves, the twigs, maybe some of the flowers that are left over. I think the Petitgrain Surfleurs from Eden Botanicals has some of the flowers are left over in that distillation, but it comes from the bitter orange tree. Now you can get petitgrain, which is leaves, twigs, etc., from mandarin. You can probably get petitgrain from orange. You can get petitgrain from lemon. Now, I've never actually seen petitgrain from orange, but I have mandarin petitgrain. This formula calls for lemon, petitgrain lemon. I haven't seen that before. I don't have it. So I figured the best I can do is petitgrain, normal petitgrain, but Petitgrain Surfleurs from Eden Botanicals. This petitgrain has a brightness to it. It has a brighter aspect to it. And I figured maybe lemon petitgrain would also have a brightness to it. Of course, I'm completely making that up. I have no idea what petitgrain lemon smells like, but this will have to do. All right, we'll give it a shake. Let's give it a dip, if I can grab one of these. Okay. And I will write top notes. Number 4. Okay, next up, let's start building out. You know what I don't see here is I don't see the animalic note, the dirty note. This might be one formula that just does not have a dirty note, which is very interesting. Let's do, we got some Hedione, Floral, Cologne, and Helional. All I kind of group those together in Cologne is ozonic. Helional I have is like a floral ozonic. Hedione is a lily of the valley / modifier that gives it bloom. Floral is a kind of a clarifier, a lifter. They're all they're in different families, but functionally they're brothers. They're brothers and sisters. So let's do that. Let's start with our Cologne. Cologne is going to help provide clarity. Almost like you have like a really flavorful juice, just a mix. You just juiced everything. You got your carrot and your apple, and it's like just filled with flavor. Now imagine you can put a couple drops of a material into that juice, and it clarifies the liquid so that it's translucent. But you don't lose the flavor. And it gives a cleanliness to your juice. That's how I liken this. It's pretty strong stuff. I didn't put enough in. I was looking at cashmerean. I need one more drop. And this is strong enough where in my 9-gram sample, 1 drop can change things. So we're gonna hold true to that. All right. Next up, let's do our Helional. Okay. Helional, I have a harder time smelling than Cologne. It's one of those things I have to smell with other things in order to get a feel for it. All right, let's do our Floral. Absolutely wonderful. Lily of the Valley. Miege material. It's just it's floral, but it's transparent. It's not bright and zingy and sizzly. It's very soft, but it's just so delicate and airy and lifting. All right, Hedione. Just over 6% of the concentrate is Hedione. I'm using a 50% dilution here, whereas most everything else is at a 10% dilution. One thing I think Labtorium does a good job with is calling out when Hedione is needed versus when Hedione HC is needed, the high cis version of Hedione. One is stronger than the other. And I think they do a good job of saying, nope, you need Hedione for this. You need Hedione HC for that. So in this, I'm going to put, what I'm going to write is clarity and lift. That's kind of what those things do. So that's what our scent strip is going to be called. Let's add we're going to add our sweet materials. That means just about everything. No, I'm going to break it up. I want to break it up. We have sandalwood, musk, vertofix, vanillin coumarin, and ambrox DL. And I want to spread this out. I want to see if I can smell the contribution of the musk to what's going on, the sandalwood to what's going on. Now, a lot of this is musk, so let's do that. Let's add our musks and see if we can build from there. We have galaxolide, tonalide, and cashmeran. We're going to start with galaxolide. Almost 13% of the juice is galaxolide. Okay. Wonderful, ubiquitous galaxolide. Cashmeran, a wonderful, sweet, ambery musk. Absolutely amazing stuff, cashmeran. Yep. Where's my tonalide? Here it is, tonalide. Musk tetralin. Did I say there was 6%? 6%. Just over 6% of the juice is tonalide, a full gram for this batch in this dilution. Okay. That was a fair bit of material we just put into our formula. This batch that I'm making is just under 9 grams. The concentrate will be just under 18%. So this is going to be a little heavy. What I should probably do is add just a little bit of alcohol, top it off, and see how low I can get the concentration, because this was released as an eau de toilette. That doesn't mean anything other than it's probably not 20 to 25% concentrate. Okay, next up, let us do our sandalwood materials. 5, 6, 7, just over 7.5% of this formula is in sandalwood-like materials. Okay, first up, Bactanol. Bactanol's noticeably sweet and sandalwoody, creamy, lactonic. It gives a nice bump. I'm not sure if it helps with projection necessarily, but it doesn't necessarily pull the fragrance down. It still allows the fragrance to project without weighing it down and sticking it to your skin too badly. Next up, ebonol. There's only 1 drop of ebonol. Makes me wonder why they do this. Bactanol and ebonol are so similar. What purpose does it serve to put just a little bit of ebonol in it? Do our brains really register the difference? I don't know. I can't say my brain does. Maybe one day it will. Next up, Sandalwood. Sandalwood is more delicate. I mean, harder to smell. It's still sandalwoody. It's still creamy. But you got to lean in just a little bit more to that smell so you can smell it. Doesn't pop quite as much. Okay. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't dip the musk. I knew I forgot something. Did not dip the musk. So we're going to have musk and sandalwood in one. Ah, what a bummer. What a bummer. That's okay. There are worse things in the world. Sandalwood and musk. 6. So let's do our final 3. Let's add our Vertofix. There's a lot of Vertofix in here. 15% of the formula is Vertofix, which is interesting to me because Dune, Vertofix to me has a dry, leathery aspect to it. And it works well in green fragrances, in leather fragrances. I wouldn't have expected this in Dune, but maybe it contributes to that green fig note. Maybe. But I'm interested to see how this affects the smell of our base, of our fragrance up to this point. Okay. Now, don't forget, we are going to dip this. Let me get a good mix, because that was neat, so that's going to stick there. Okay. Okay. Let's write Vertofix, and we've got 2 more. Vanillin and coumarin. Okay. Coumarin. Nice hay-like smell. It's bright. It's sweet. It's got this wetness to it, or almost this aquatic nature to it that livens up sweet notes. And vanillin. Now, not much vanillin. Very, very not much. This is a 1% dilution. There's only 1/10 of a gram in this batch. In other words, there's not much. Tell you what, I'm smelling this, and I'm getting much more Dune than I was in the previous video, the previous formulation that we did. Shake. Dip. Okay. And then we are going to add, finally, the Ambrox DL. The whole point here is just, can I smell the difference? Now, I would hope so. There is 2.5% of the concentrate is Ambrox DL. I'm getting ahead of myself. I need a pipette, not a scent strip. Okay, let's do this. Ambrox DL is a lot like Ambroxan, but drier, woodier. Whew. Oh, it's these strips are throwing. I am getting some serious smell. Wow. What I will do, let's see, because I don't know how much alcohol I can put in here to just write it in my formula. What I'm going to do is I'm going to top this off with alcohol. And then whatever I put in here, I'm going to add to the formula, and then we're going to see how that affects the concentration. Because right now we're at 18% concentration, and then I'll do the final dip. Okay, let's do a clean round number. 0.6 grams of Perfumer's alcohol gets us to 16.76% concentrate. Then what is that? 83.24% Perfumer's alcohol and other solvents. So let's dip. Call this final. And then let's evaluate. First up, remember we only had florals and there wasn't very much going on, right? Just the geraniol, geranyl acetate, narrow acetate, dimethylanthranilate, and the ianone beta. It's a little rosy. Interesting. Actually, that's very rosy. For just having geraniol, geranyl acetate, the ianone beta is really slipping in here and giving it a little more pop. But it's still a rose. It smells like a very cheap rose, but it smells like rose. Next up, we added the aromatic notes, and there were a few: the basil, clary sage, dihydromercenol, nopal acetate, the rosemary, the lavandin. Ooh, soap. It smells like soap. Cheap rose with some aromatic notes. Dihydromercenol's pushing. Maybe that's what's making it soapy, like men's sport soap. It's good though. It's rosy and it's fresh. I can't say it's bad. It's not an unpleasant smell. Next up, we have all of the green notes, and there were a few. Cis-3-hexanol, cis-3-hexanol salicylate, sterolyl acetate. There's the stemone. There's the methyl octene carbonate. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful green, fresh. The stemone is coming through in that I'm getting that freshness, that almost mint-like aspect from it. This is very fresh, very green, and it's kind of pushing down that men's body wash vibe that we have in the beginning. Next up, we added all that bergamot, the mandarin. What else was there? Mandarinal, the sweet orange. And we added the petitgrain surfleurs. Very interesting. It doesn't change it a whole lot. And mind you, we added a bunch of bergamot. This gives it a nice, clean citrus top. Not lemony citrus. You don't get that zing, that pinginess from lemon. But it gives it a little bit more brightness. It lifts it up just a little bit. Next up, we added the more, the clarity notes, right? The lyral, the hedione, helional, and the calone. Now I'm hoping that this just takes what we have and it just opens it up and lifts it. Wow. The calone is noticeable. The calone is exceptionally noticeable, and what it is doing, it's as if the fragrance opened up and all of these smooth green floral notes in the middle now have time to come through and shine. Because it's helping those aromatic notes come through a little bit more. That's interesting. All right, we added the sandalwood and musk. That's nice. And oddly enough, with the addition of sandalwood and musk, now I'm smelling more bergamot. That is weird. But I'm finally picking up all that bergamot that we put in there. All right, it's still well balanced. It's just putting that nice, sweet, smooth floor underneath it all. Then we added the Vertofix. And remember, 15% of the concentrate was Vertofix. This is dry, it's leathery, it's woody. Let's see. And now we're getting into Dune. From this point on, we're getting very close to Dune. That is very interesting. Wow, wow. Just one strip, not Dune. Added the Vertofix. Now my brain is going, oh, that smells like Dune. And I can't even say what it does. You know what? it just gives it a little more brightness. That is so interesting. The Vertofix is helping give more support to the top, to the edge, the green edge, the bergamot edge, the fresh edge coming off the stemone. The Vertofix is providing a support system for that. All right, let me reset my nose. Holy cow. Next up, we added the vanillin and the coumarin. Now, your fig accord, if fig is in this, your fig accord, according to Jean-Claude Elena, is gamma-octolactone and stemone. Now, there's no octolactone, nonylactone, heptalactone. There's no lactones in here. But maybe the vanillin, I thought to myself, maybe the vanillin and the coumarin kind of substitutes that sweet creaminess that you get from the lactones. I don't know. We're going to see. We're going to see what happens. Oh my gosh. I can't say it added more fig, but my friends, the change between what we have with the Vertofix and just a little bit of vanillin and a little bit of coumarin, and this smells elegant. Oh, this is such a great study. This is such a fantastic study. This smells so elegant and rich. Dare I say opulent. It smells gold. Now, this is still moving towards Dune. It's still figgy, fresh, green, sweet, floral, smooth sandalwood and musk on the base. But boy, a little vanillin and a little coumarin just elevated our fragrance. Finally, Ambrox DL, 2.5% of the concentrate in Ambrox DL. What is this going to do? Wow, a further warmth, further refinement. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, this was just levels and levels above. We start with the sandalwood and musk. It smells good, but it's dead. This is, in hindsight, this is dead smelling. Not like death, but it doesn't project, doesn't pop, doesn't throw. We add the Vertofix. That Vertofix helps accentuate, again, in my mind, it helps accentuate the edge of the fragrance. The bergamot's coming through, the stemone is coming through, at least the minty aspect of the stemone's coming through. We add vanilla and coumarin. Oh, puts a highlighter on, it just puts a highlighter on the fragrance. And it says, here I am. It gets right in my nose. I had no idea vanillin and coumarin could help something pop like this. Hold on, I got to put this on my skin. I am just tickled. This is fantastic. Okay. And then, last up, we add the Ambrox DL. Apologies. And this just adds a little more sophistication. I am so impressed by this formula. And just this process of how we today laid this out. This was very exciting. Maybe even worth a second rep just to go through this again. All right, on the skin, different. Right off the bat, I'm getting a lot more mandarin, more bergamot, more freshness from the aromatic notes, but it's still driving with the vanillin, the coumarin, the Ambrox. Oh, my friends, this is killer. Thank you to Labtorium for putting this together. This is amazing. I do wonder if I dropped this concentration down from the 16.75% down to say 12%, is this more, or 10%, is this going to get closer? Because this is strong. This is very strong. I suppose what I'll do is I might drop this in a larger bottle, but I am getting the fig note. I'm getting everything. I could keep talking because this is awesome. This is absolutely awesome. I really hope you give it a try. I'm tickled. I'm absolutely tickled. Thanks for joining me. And per usual, whip this up. If you make any replacements, throw it in the comments. Let us know how it goes. And have fun with this one. this is a good one. I'll see you next time.